Hi, my name is Colby Ballman and I'm a photographer from Fresno, California. Today I wanted to edit a few photos and I thought I'd bring you guys along. So let's jump right into it. So this is a shot I took in Yosemite from Glacier Point looking towards Half Dome, and I got the little sun flare in the top right corner and Nevada Falls right there, and Vernal Falls right there. I like the shot, but I don't love that the trees are kind of showing on this left side. So first thing, I'm going to crop a little bit in so the trees are cut off, and now bring it up a little bit, maybe about there. Might change it later. And second thing, I'll probably mess with the exposure a little bit. It's a little bit too bright, and I'll bring down the highlights just a little bit, and I'll bring up the shadows just to make everything a little bit more even. I like the natural look, but the raw photos from my Canon 5D Mark II are pretty flat, so I always have to edit them to get the colors and the exposure that I really want. I'll keep the temperature about the same. Tint, I rarely mess with. The auto tint on Adobe Lightroom is pretty good, so I'll leave it at that. Clarity, I'll probably bring up just a little bit. 18 looks good. Vibrance, I don't touch too much, and there's also not that much color in this photo. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Same with saturation. I'll actually keep it at 0. And I always like to cool down the shadows just a little bit. Ooh, not that much. And I'm gonna warm up the highlights. Sharpening, I only mess with sometimes. It's pretty subtle, but since there's a lot of grain in this photo, I'll keep it lower so it doesn't show up as much. .37 is fine. Denoise I won't mess with. I'll usually do the profile corrections unless I'm doing something specific, or maybe it looks bad, but in this case it looks fine. And I won't add any grain to this photo. I want it to be a little bit sharper than some of my other photos, but I like the way that looks right now. And that's photo 1 done. My second photo for today is from Lake Tahoe. This is sunset, looking west, but not directly at the sun, because the sun is a little bit on the left side of the frame, out of frame. But I really liked the colors in the clouds here, and the contrast between the mountains and the sky behind it. This is actually straight out of the camera, these colors. I haven't messed with it at all. First thing I notice is this dust spot from my sensor. I probably should clean my sensor. I'll just take that out with the masking tool on Lightroom. And this little branch I don't love that in the corner, so I'll take that out. There's not too much I'll do to this photo. Exposure's fine. Contrast I might bring down just a little bit. Highlights, I don't know. The more I start changing stuff, the more unnatural it looks, because the colors were so good straight from the raw file. So people will think I'm faking it. But I just like to tweak everything just a little bit to make it look even more like it did in person. I'll cool down the shadows again on this one. On some photos from maybe the same trip, where the photos all are the same lighting or they look similar, I'll actually copy and paste my settings so I don't have to do every single one individually, but then I can go through and tweak little things as I see I want them to be different, or maybe they looked different than they did when I saw it in person, so I'll go in and change them to be more accurate. Yeah, but other than that, for these individual photos, I don't do too much to them. I really like to capture what I saw and make it look like how I saw it in person. So this one's pretty accurate. Actually, just noticed more branches down there, so I'll take those out with the masking, not the masking tool, what is this? The remove tool, I guess. And that works pretty good. They have a new AI feature on here that I haven't really used that much, but we might today in one of these photos, because there's a tree that I don't like and I might try to take it out. So we'll see, but that's later on in the video. So this photo is all done and good to go. This next photo is from Yosemite. This is El Cap up here and Merced River, and I really like this spot because there's always a good reflection, and there's these nice reeds or whatever plant this is over here covered in snow. I really like that look. So first thing, probably the exposure is fine where it is. Contrast I'll bump up just a little bit. Highlights I'll bring down because of El Cap right here was really overexposed. And then shadows I'll bring up again. Whites I like to bring up a little bit sometimes. And then blacks I'll bring down low. And blacks I'll bring down lower. Clarity, sometimes I up it just a little bit, and sometimes I actually mess with dehaze if there's just a bunch of maybe bad air or dust in the air that I want to remove. But this looks pretty cool because it's not over the whole image, it's just over the valley floor and nothing else, so I actually like that look and I'll keep it. Vibrance and saturation I won't mess with on this one. Then always bring down the temperature in the shadows and make it a little warmer in the highlights. Sharpening I won't mess with on this photo. And remove chromatic aberration and profile corrections just because. And that photo is done. This next photo is from my sister's graduation photos, and I really like this photo and the colors, but I might lower the clarity and just mess with the exposure just a little bit to make it where I want it. I'll up the contrast. For portraits, it's a little bit different because you don't want to make it look too sharp, just because of you don't want to make them look too sharp just because of skin looks weird when it's too sharp, and usually portraits look better when they're softer, at least I think. So I'm gonna bring down the clarity on this one just a little bit and maybe up the vibrance and saturation. And with the shadows and highlights, I'll do the same thing as usual. Sharpening, I'll keep the same, or actually I might bring that down to 0 because Lightroom automatically takes the sharpening up to 40 on every image that you upload for some reason. So on portraits, I'll bring that down to 0 just because. And remove chromatic aberration and profile corrections. And that looks pretty good. Now on to our next photo. This one is actually a DNG file. It's a collection of 3 different photos that I bracketed. So one of them's lower exposure, one of them's mid exposure, and one of them's high exposure, so I can get everything lit correctly in the photo instead of having the mountains blown out over here or the rocks really dark right here. And I really wanted the moving water effect, so I had a longer exposure with an ND filter on. So to start, this is not at all how it looked in person. This is a little bit too bright in the mountains. It was also sunrise, so the mountains were a little bit orange, but the temp I'll keep the same. Exposure I'll bring down, ooh, that's too much, down just a little bit. Contrast I'll take up. Highlights down pretty far. Shadows up more. No, I'll bring the exposure up actually. 0 is fine. And then highlights I'll bring down even more. I see some dust from the sensor again, so I'll take that out. I guess I need to clean my sensor. I see some more actually. I actually love this remove tool in Lightroom. It works really well. You just click on it once and it'll take a little dot of the photo from another spot that thinks it'll look good in that spot, and you can move it around if you want to, but it's usually pretty good where it is. Okay, now we can get back to editing the photo. I'll actually bring up the clarity on this photo. I kind of wish I moved these branches out of the way when I was actually there, but I won't take them out in post. I'll just leave them in. And I'm upping the vibrance and saturation just because, oh, that's actually a lot better. That's more accurate to how it looked in person. Oh, by the way, this is from Lone Pine, California. That's Mount Whitney right there, and that's Lone Pine Peak. And this is Lone Pine Creek too. Same thing with the shadows. I'll cool them down and warm up the highlights. I just like the look this brings to the photo. A lot of people like the more teal and orange look. I like the in between teal and blue look. It gives it that nice bluish tone in the photo, and then the orange and the highlights looks really nice. Sharpening I'll bring up on this photo just because I really like the texture in the rocks, and on this photo they don't come out too good straight out of the camera, so I'll sharpen them. And that's probably because I did a long exposure and maybe the camera moved a little bit. I see a little bit there, but other than that, this photo's pretty much done. That looks pretty good, and that's going straight in my portfolio. I love this photo. Alright, next photo is also from Lone Pine. These were the lupines from springtime when they all come out. Definitely one of my favorite mountain flowers. Oh, that was an accident. Definitely not doing that. Okay, now here's the sunrise light that I was wanting to get in the previous photo. I guess it just, I'm not sure. I actually won't have to do much to this photo. This looks so good already. Up the contrast just a little bit. Highlights down. I like the more blue sky because that's how it looked in person. Shadows I'll bring them down actually. Whites I'll bring up. Blacks down. Actually I'll bring the shadows up now. And that looks pretty good. I won't mess with the colors at all actually, except for the shadows and highlights. That looks good. Oh yeah, that looks good. I thought I saw a dust particle over there somewhere, but maybe not. I kind of wish the flowers were in focus. If I did maybe f22, that would have worked, but these are really close to the lens, so yeah, there's kind of nothing I could do about that unless I do exposure bracketing, so I could focus on the flowers that are close and focus on the mountains and then stack those photos together, which is probably what I should have done in this photo, but it's too late now. I'm back home, but now I know for next time. I do love this photo though. Alright, the next photo is from Yosemite again. This is El Cap from a different angle. This is the Merced River down here too, and this is a long exposure. I like the look of the running water down here, and this was right after it snowed pretty heavily overnight, and there was actually no snow the day before. This is all from one night of snow. So, and this was actually sunrise. You can see the little bit of light on the top of El Cap, and that's all there was. It was pretty light, but it wasn't that bright, so I'm gonna up the contrast, lower the exposure. You can kind of see I do a similar thing in every single photo I edit. It's just depending on the photo and the lighting, I change things up just a little bit, and this one will be no different than the others. The raw colors out of the Canon are just so good that I don't need to change much. Sharpening I'll bring up just a little bit. Yeah, again, denoise I haven't used that much yet, but I actually might use it today because there's a night photo that I really wanted to edit, and there's a lot of noise, and there's one tree that I really want to take out of it. So I think we'll be able to do that with the denoise and the generative AI masking tool on Lightroom. So this photo is done. Let's move on to the next photo. I do like this photo. It's from San Diego, but I thought I kind of overexposed it. I did use an ND filter and I wanted the smooth water effect, but it didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to, so I might just try to see if it looks good in black and white. So we'll try that right now. I usually just go the Adobe monochrome from the start and adjust everything after that. Lower the exposure, up the contrast a lot. This one is going to be less realistic than my other photos and more artistic. I don't do that too often, but I will for this one. Lower the black. And you can see from my ND filter, I guess, the vignetting, kind of weird vignetting on the sides. That also might be because the sun is shining straight on it, because the sun was like maybe up around here, maybe a little higher, like here. But yeah, it's too bad. I wish that wasn't there. And I don't love doing too much work to change the photo. Like, I definitely could get rid of that with masking over here and add like a linear gradient mask and lighten up those shadows, but that would take too long, and I'm just not a huge fan of changing the photo that much. This is actually looking pretty good already. Let's go to the sharpening. You can see there's people in the water. That's kind of cool. They look like ghosts though. This is a cool photo. I definitely could have done things better when I shot it, but it's too late now. I kind of like that. I might lower the exposure just a little bit more and up the highlights and shadows. I'm not sure. I might play with this one a little bit more off camera, but that's pretty good for me. The next photo is El Cap, and it was really cloudy and pretty cool. I was hoping to get a bird flying over, like right in front of the tip of El Cap up here, but I waited pretty long and had to go home, so I did not get that. But this is a pretty good shot, and it peeked out of the clouds for just a few minutes, so I did a time lapse and cropped this photo out of it so I could edit it and keep it as a photo instead of a time lapse. I really like the blue sky here. It was a very nice day, pretty warm, and it was wintertime, so that was nice. I see some dots, so I'll take those out. They're usually from dust on my sensor, and I don't take off my lens that much, and I clean the sensor pretty often, so I'm wondering if I have some seals that are going bad, or it's just because I take my camera outside so much that it's bound to happen, kind of. But it doesn't damage the sensor. Or it hasn't damaged the sensor anyways. Not yet. Hopefully it doesn't. That's pretty good. I'll keep that. This is a pretty simple edit. I didn't do too much. I like the bluer sky. I can show you the before and after. Before, after. At the end, I'll probably go back and go through the before and after of all the photos, just because it's fun. I kind of like looking at the before. Alright, and here's the big one that I might take forever editing, and I might not show all of it on video, but I wanted to kind of show you guys my process. So I did not like this tree. I wish I was farther right, because if you're farther right, you can have the tree out of the frame, but you also get more light from the cars that are driving through the tunnel view. So I don't know what I could have done better, but I might try to take out the tree with the generative AI. First I'll drop down the temperature. I mean, it was nighttime, so it was pretty blue out. It wasn't orange, and well, this red is actually from the brake lights from cars driving in and out of the parking lot at Tunnel View, which is too bad too, but alright, where do we even start? Exposure, let's bring that down. That already looks better. I actually really like that. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to take out these lens flares from the cars. Oh, that doesn't look horrible, but I don't know. I'll decide later. I'm gonna try to use the generative AI already, and you guys can just see how it works, kind of. So it's the same as the remove tool, except it uses AI to replace it instead of another part of the image. So what we'll see here is it loading, and it'll give me 3 different options, and I can actually reset the options and see something new. This first one's really good, actually. These are all great. Since it's nighttime and this part of the photo wasn't even sharp anyways, I'll probably just go with that one. I mean, it blends in. It looks pretty good. That's what it would look like if I was farther to the right and I shot over the bushes and around this tree on the left. But I guess we can try to take that out next. Hopefully it doesn't completely ruin the image. I don't know how far down I want to remove it, or where it'll even look good. Let's try that. That does not look too good. That looks okay. This one's actually pretty realistic. In person, the mountain kind of dips down and then goes a little bit higher back behind down El Portal Road, the 41, not the 41, the 140. And it kept some of the stars in there. You can see the outline though where it replaced the tree. I mean, just for this video, that's good enough for me, I think. I'm just gonna edit it the way I would a normal photo. Kind of. change a few things. This photo is really not going to be sharp no matter how much I try, but these tools really do help. I mean, I didn't even nail the focus on this shot, but that looks pretty good in my opinion. That's zoomed in 10 times at least on my screen, and the blacks are a little bit too black. Yeah, that's a lot better. Oh. I don't know. I'm not too happy with that. I do like the stars though. And these lines are either airplanes or satellites, and they blink and they get every single blink down your shot, and they're pretty hard to remove. If I was adding it to my portfolio or showing a client or something like that, I would definitely remove those, but for my personal work I kind of like to keep them in. They're just so hard to remove and they don't look horrible. Like, there's always going to be planes flying over Yosemite, so it's the way it would look in person if you could do a long exposure with your eyes. So that's good enough for me. Oh, it added a big bush over here. That's kind of nice. And I do like the snow details, but there's a line you can see over that whole area. It's not perfect yet, but it'll probably get better, the generative AI. This view never gets old though. And yeah, that's actually our last photo for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, I would be happy to do them, and maybe even have a class showing people how to edit or how to start editing. So just let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.